Welcome, everyone, to Friday 15 with Master B2B. My name is Brian Beck. I'm here with Andy Hoar, my partner in the thought leadership series and community that we have here, intergalactic exposure around the world, right, and the universe, right, Andy Hoar? Where are you these days? You're somewhere else today.
I'm on the road, and I took my office with me.
You sure did. It looks like you're at home, but you're actually not. Amazing what modern technology can do.
Brian, I'm right behind your banner there. If you just look behind the banner, I'm right behind
you. That would be kind of scary. No, I think you're, So getting on the road, see some college football, big games this weekend. My team has its first test. We're playing Iowa, probably.
Iowa?
Iowa.
That's fantastic.
Iowa. Dude, it's the first Big Ten team we play. We're 3-0, dude. But,
you won't be after this weekend.
Oh, shut up. My Scarlet Knights are. I have faith, everyone. Well, anyhow, folks, welcome to Friday 15, exciting topic, and we're going to do a report from the field this week, so it should be a lot of fun. But before we do that, I wanted to get into some breaking news. Andy, did you see this? Pattern Group looks poised for a strong IPO opening. Pattern Group disclosed that it generated revenue of $1.8 billion for the year that ended last year, 2024, and net income of $68 million. I'm going to unpack that in a second. So what does this Pattern Group do, Andy? What they do is they buy and resell products mainly on Amazon. Pattern noted that they got 94% of its revenue from consumer product sales on Amazon. So this essentially is a distributor that buys products and resells them on Amazon. Now, what's fascinating to me is that there's so much pressure on this business model. I've never loved this business model, Andy, because there's you're basically reliant on one channel and you're buying from other brands. So what are you really controlling here in terms of your differentiation in the marketplace, right? If you don't control the channel, you don't control the product. They're leaning a lot in their IPO filing on data and analytics as being kind of their secret sauce, which is interesting. The street seems to like it, but I mean, look at the numbers. That's about a 3% net profit. That puts them a little bit above grocery stores, which is not a great business. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, earnings and profit are what drive businesses, and the top line number is very impressive.
Yes.
But as you pointed out, when you're talking like low single digit margins, I'm not sure how great a business that is. Like you said, it's right in line with grocery.
Right.
So, but these guys are basically a 1P, is what you're saying?
Well, they're kind of. So they don't sell to Amazon. They'll buy the product, they'll own the product. So they'll go to a big brand and then they'll resell the products on Amazon. The challenge in the business model is, again, they don't control much on either side. You're reliant on those brands to sell you products for a reasonable price. And then Amazon's prices, as I know and live every day, we're going to talk about it today. Amazon's costs could continue to go up. I mean, they're all about profitability these days, right? So Amazon is. So their costs are increasing. What does that do? It puts margin compression on that 3%. So anyhow, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I mean, there is definitely scale in this business, and there's others like them, like Spreetail, and there's some others in the market that do the same thing. Not public, though.
Do they only sell on Amazon?
Well, 94% of their volume comes from Amazon. So in effect, yes.
I mean, is that because they choose that or because they're in love with that? Because I think that would be a scary dependency. Because what if they go foul of Amazon, or Amazon changes their policies, or the numbers change, or what have you?
Yep. Yeah, it is a scary thing. And I think there's, certainly opportunities to diversify to some degree. But think about it, right? Amazon is the dominant player in e-commerce in the United States. That's primarily where this company sells in the U.S. And, unless you have your own direct e-commerce or Shopify, right, where you're powering a lot of different merchant stores, you're dependent on where that volume is, where the customer is. Now, I'd imagine if I'm Pattern, I'm sitting there thinking about other ways and places to diversify my business. But again, it is, I would agree with you. There's a lot of risk there. So, folks, we got to talk about our topic today, which is all about a report from the field. Andy, I spent the whole week at Amazon Accelerate in Seattle. This was a really an amazing conference. It was a show and it's my second year going, and it had over 10,000 people in attendance. So it was a massive sort of showing of people descending on Seattle. We actually had nice weather, which was crazy. You don't expect that out of Seattle, but it was really
nice. That was the biggest surprise.
Yeah, that was the biggest shocker. But it was fascinating to get into the universe here and understand not only how companies are interacting with Amazon, but how Amazon itself is messaging to this very, very large community. So this is the seller conference they have every year in the United States. Again, it's called Accelerated. It attracts sellers. So these are people selling through what's called Amazon Seller Central to this conference to talk about new features and functionalities, allow people to network. There are a lot of breakout sessions, things like that. And in fact, they had a whole series of keynote sessions. And for those of you who can see this visually, I'm sharing pictures of the conference floor here. Just an enormous group. Now, what's fascinating too is, traditionally this has attracted smaller sellers, small companies that come in, and there's a lot of sort of quote unquote mom and pops that sell on Amazon that might generate a few $100,000 a year in sales. But also what I'm seeing is a lot more big companies are starting to go to this, who are interested in or actively selling using the seller central selling method. And so, we spent time. I spent time with a number of folks on the conference floor. A lot of our community members at Master B2B were there. I spent time with Nick Becker at Avery Products, Steve Francis there at Diversitech. Spent a lot of time with folks from Amazon Business themselves. We had an executive dinner there. It was a great networking opportunity. Folks from Steel were there. Simpson Strong Tie was there. So, Andy, a lot of these people. And what the reasons they were there was to develop relationships with Amazon and see what Amazon was doing, is doing in these areas, particularly around B2B, right? So had spent a lot of time with the B2B team. I had a chance to hear Andy Jassy speak, which was something that, I've never heard the CEO speak of Amazon, which is fascinating. Now he went through about 5 or 6 different points in his kind of fireside chat talk with Dharmesh Mehta, who's a VP at Amazon. One of the quotes I pulled from him, Andy, I'd love to get your reaction to it. He said, and this is really core to their culture: speed in business is a leadership decision. If it is a priority to you and your leadership team, you can make it happen. And that's, it harkens back to me to some of the things that Jeff Bezos used to talk about a lot, which was, really continuing to be a day one company, a company that could actually, adapt and change rather than be a slave to process. And Jassy even said this. He says, it's not that we don't have process, but we need to hold people accountable. But if you as an organization at your C-level decide that you can be, you're going to be a nimble, fast decision-making company, you can be that. I thought that was particularly interesting given our universe of B2B companies. Andy, any reactions?
Yeah, things are changing so quickly, with technology, customer behavior, preferences, etc., that you don't have an option other than to be a very nimble, agile company. And everybody uses those terms, everybody throws that around. But what I like about the Jassy comment is he sort of encapsulated it in one sentence by saying, this is a leadership decision.
Right.
In other words, it doesn't just happen. It isn't by osmosis you become a fast company. You don't become a nimble, agile company just because you think you want to be one. You got to make decisions to do that. You have to make decisions to do things like hire certain people who think a certain way. You have to make hard decisions about old processes that might be comfortable, but that are just too damn slow. These are oftentimes tough decisions, not so much for technology companies, because I think it's in their DNA.
Right.
I do think for some of the companies we tend to work with, though, some manufacturers and distributors who are very, set in their ways, they're used to doing things a certain way. It's hard for them to shift. And I think what we're going to see in the next 7 to 10 years is constant shifting. The pace of change is accelerating at an exponential rate, not just an increasing rate. That's an old canard. It's definitely not linear. It is curvilinear, but it is going to be substantially curvilinear. And I think this is the part that the winners and losers here are going to be separated by who can react more quickly. And I just don't hear a lot of companies talking about speed. I hear a lot of companies talking about profit. That's important. Customer satisfaction. That's important. But you're not going to get any of that if you're not fast and good. And that's really hard to do.
Well, the interesting thing too, Andy, is that, if we think about what has held back companies in e-commerce transformation and B2B, manufacturers, distributors, it's been that sort of slow decision making and lack of leadership, commitment to the channel or understanding it. And so I think there's that's the interesting thing in B2B is you don't have to be as nimble as Amazon or Google or whoever, the big tech companies. And that's when Jassy speaks about it. He's speaking about a sort of level of, we'll call it nimbility or agility, that I don't know necessarily B2B companies necessarily need to go that far, but the bar is so low in B2B that just being a bit more nimble, a bit more agile, a bit faster with your decision making, a bit more confident in risk taking is going to get you, further along than your competition, because that culture is just so slow and business case everything to death. Well, Amazon doesn't make decisions on 100% of the information. They have what Jassy calls it a YQ culture, which is ask questions, like I said, YQ, why being, ask questions and challenge till you get to the answer. And that's another element of their culture he highlighted when he talked. And so, that's surfacing as much information as you need, but that's not 100% of the information necessarily to make the decision and move on and have some level of risk tolerance. I think that was a lot of his point.
Well, I think we're seeing a real life example of this in the transition that's definitely taking place from Google to answer engines.
Oh, right.
And
Sure.
I still think too many companies, and I can only speak really to B2B, they're 100% really aligned right now around Google.
Right.
That's the way they believe the world operates. And they think that their buyers they project that forward, that their buyer behavior is not going to change substantially. There's still a Google world. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
I'm not convinced of that. You and I have joked about how we hardly even use Google anymore ourselves.
Right.
And when that transition takes place, that's going to have a profound effect on buyer behavior, which is the thing I would caution B2B companies to look for. Do not settle into this world where you think what happened in the past is what's going to happen in the future. And everybody goes, oh, sure, of course not. Things change. No. You need to revisit where your customers are going, because the customers, 75% of which are now Gen Y and Gen Z, and they're like 40 and younger. That group is going to be very receptive to a change, such as moving to an answer engine, where perhaps you even visit a website. And I'm just a little concerned that people have locked into the way things have always been. And I'm a little concerned that they aren't going to be like that going forward, and they're going to get cut off guard.
Yep. No question. Well, so, and Amazon, of course, is leading the charge as it relates to, new innovation, moving quickly. And so there's a couple of the themes I wanted to highlight, Andy. The first was AI. This conference was all about AI, constant, in the keynotes both days, over the course of, they tried it out, multiple executives to talk about things that they're doing across the business. And AI was by far the biggest theme of the day. They talked a lot about using AI to help sellers create, for example, more and better content. Andy, the level of, it blew me away. The level of, if it's to be believed, content creation capabilities, content studio, creating video that is like, TV ready quality, videos with, it could be on broadcast, the stuff that they were showing that, they say, Amazon says levels the playing field with the big advertisers, right? To allow a small seller, for example, to come in and create incredible video, as an example, on their product listing pages. They're also using AI in all sorts of different functional areas. For example, helping companies to better forecast for inventory levels at Amazon, helping them to do returns processes. Really, they trotted out executives across all these different functions at Amazon, and every single one of them was talking about how they're applying AI in the business to make the customer experience better, but also to help this seller community to better do their jobs and to take some automate functions that historically might have been done by a human, or making that process faster, right? But I was blown away by some of the creative stuff. It was crazy.
This is another discussion for another day, but there's a serious conversation about what benefit size and scale gives you when it's unique to you. And what I mean by that is, if Amazon and Google can give you the capabilities that large companies have, perhaps even better than what large companies have, then what's the advantage to being a large company? Especially if you can be like picture a $100 million distributor that is using Amazon to sell things. They get that scale benefit. They're using Google and Gemini and other things to do that. And they're a member of a buying co-op. Yep. Aren't you covering like aren't you checking all the boxes so that you can compete with Grainger? You know, you've got everything that say Grainger's got, perhaps even better technology than what Grainger's offering from, I would call your scale acceleration partners, if you want to call it that. But why the Bay stands for SAP, which is kind of an odd acronym to be using there. But, you know, you're going to have people who have that capability. Then you say, okay, well, what's the advantage that Grainger has? Right. And I start to think about this a bit. And I'm like, what is the advantage they have? Especially if it's a bunch of people, right? And processes that are about to become, I don't know if upended is the right word, but streamlined. Right. So there's a serious question about what size, legacy size and scale, individualized legacy size and scale are going to bring to your business in a world where other people can provide that for you and where speed and nimbleness is going to be the winner. It's just an interesting question to consider.
It is. Maybe we'll do a whole Friday 15 around it. It's fascinating stuff. But no, AI is definitely changing the game. And the smart big guys, I'm sure Grainger has AI initiatives underway. So, you know, that what it provides is deep pockets, right, Andy, and your ability to invest in some things. But again, Amazon and others are democratizing this stuff and making it available to the masses for commerce. The other big thing that emerged is fulfillment. This has been a theme for the last year or two. It was clear and it was said that fulfillment services, global, they call it supply chain solutions, is now what they call an S team, which is a strategic pillar. The S team is the senior team at Amazon effort. They view this, in my opinion, as they pretty much said it as the next AWS. Fulfillment is really now a strategic pillar. What they do is, and Jassy also said this, is they look at as they build capabilities for Amazon itself, they will then roll those things out to their community of and then commercialize them for use off.
There's another one to our point. You don't need the distribution supply chain infrastructure that was built up by these major, you know, legacy players. You can use Amazon for that. Amazon. Again, there's some issues around that, of course. Nothing's perfect, but yeah, you don't need it. So if you need to deliver that part to a job site, you used to have your own truck, your own driver. Now you don't. You just use Amazon, Uber, whatever. And so again, what's the advantage for these guys who built their own networks? I think you were going to suggest something about here that didn't like Amazon recreate what FedEx and UPS had done, and they did it in just a couple of years?
Yeah, they said that was funny. Yeah, we talked about that a bit. Amazon said the VP of these solutions, these supply chain solutions, said we made a conscious decision about 8 years ago to recreate FedEx, and we did it in 8 years. They built FedEx in 8 years. I mean, to be, you know, obviously they had infrastructure in place, right? I mean, it wasn't just an overnight thing, but I mean, ultimately they decided deliberately that this is the same place. They're taking that AWS business model and applying it to fulfillment. And so, yes, it's incredible. They announced, I think it was about a $4 billion investment in better getting product to rural areas. So they're investing in areas.
Talked about that.
Yeah. So,
that scared the crap out of TSC. Remember that Tractor Supply Company?
Right.
Yeah, which is kind of a rural retailer. But yeah, I mean, you take that infrastructure, and by the way, you're absolutely right. This is an AWS like product for them or service for them because they built it internally for themselves. That's what they did for AWS. And then they turn it out to their partners, et cetera. And they give them amazing capabilities that you used to have to have your own network to deliver, or you use FedEx or UPS. And it's changed both FedEx and UPS. It has.
Yes. Yes. No. And the other thing that was interesting, Andy, was the head of analytics was up there talking, and she was saying that they're, she kind of let this, I think maybe let it slip a little bit. I mean, they're talking about all this advanced analytics they're doing, AI driven, new reporting for Amazon internally, but she kind of let it slip that they're going to potentially commercialize this too. So is analytics the next thing they're going to do this with? I don't know. Maybe, if you think about the dominance of, the Google Analytics and other platforms like that. But I mean, Amazon has so much data and capability, and they're investing in AI so heavily that this could be something that comes next. The other interesting
thing. By the way, they're a technology company that's enabling other companies with their existing technology. They also have deep partnerships with AI companies. They're an investor in Claude, right?
That's right.
So they see this stuff early. They apply it quickly. To our point earlier, I just think legacy players have to have this level of understanding, and you cannot just rest on your laurels and say, our customers have operated with us for decades like this. Therefore, extrapolate going forward that they're going to continue doing that. I think that's the miscalculation here. I'm not convinced that's going to happen. There will be some, of course, who will want to keep things the same, but you can't let that dominate your approach to your go-to-market. You have to think like, what if a bunch of people decide to start using answer engines instead of our website? And what if they're selling via bots? And what about if we have scale partners like Amazon and others, Google, providing the capabilities that we spent years building?
Yep.
How does this world look? And I can't count on one hand companies that have even thought about that, much less actually put together any kind of plan around it.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. So one of the final point I'll make, and there were lots more. I mean, there's too much to unpack on a Friday 20. But the last one I wanted to highlight was this 1P, 3P selling methods thing is a religious war. I mean, and what's interesting is Jassy alluded to this, a bunch of people at this conference, the speakers alluded to the fact that when they introduced marketplace selling 3P back in 2000, I think it was 2000, that it caused a huge fervor at Amazon, right? This is 25 years ago, Andy. All the 1P, the retail people at Amazon, were like, what are you doing introducing competition into this marketplace? You're going to destroy our business, destroy our supplier relationships. A bunch of folks talked about this. The executives did. And then I saw it in, talking to all the people at the conference. And this is truly a religious war. It's like in the Middle East, something like crazy, like where there's this long time resentment, I think, that's on the retail side of this whole 3P business. And then 3P people are like, this is an awful way for companies to do business with Amazon. And it's like, gosh, Amazon's got to figure that out because it's just causing so much disruption.
Yeah, but they cannibalize themselves, right?
Right.
And they prioritize what customers wanted. And there were customers who wanted that capability. Other companies, and again, Amazon's got other issues. We're not going to sing Amazon's praises with regard to everything here. But one thing they do very well is they prioritize customer interests.
Yes, they do.
They will sublimate everything else to that. So if this is what customers are asking for, this is what customers are demonstrating, if this is what customers are paying for, then they're going to deliver that. Their first instinct is not, how does this affect us internally? Which is what 99% of most companies do. Amazon really has flipped that and said, look, we don't care how this affects us internally, maybe to a fault. They have competition internally, like you said, religious wars. Teams are fighting one another. That's not everybody's cup of tea, but I think it's the right orientation, which is we're here to sell stuff to people and deliver value. And what people want to do internally, what makes them comfortable, et cetera, isn't our highest priority. But I suspect for most companies, especially in B2B, it is their highest priority, which is why I think they're up in for, sadly, a massive wake-up call in the next 5 to 10 years.
No question.
This is going to get ugly for some companies. I'll say it now. It's going to get ugly.
Yeah, and we see it at Nsiba, my Amazon agency. We work with these companies, Andy. I mean, it's when they do it right, it can be an incredible growth engine for them. So let's get to our announcements because we're rather behind here again on our Friday 15, Andy, as usual. But hopefully, thank you guys for listening in to us ramble about this cool and fun stuff. Fascinating industry we're in. So Nexus, B2B Master B2B Nexus is your personal B2B digital lifeline. Go to our website to find out more. We provide expert advice exclusively for e-com practitioners. It's a paid service for practitioners only. Think about it like advisory on demand with a pre-qualified senior level peer and expert network that you get access to through this service. So check it out online, masterb2b.com.
Can I share a quick quote? Somebody said recently, I think we captured it well. They said, talking about Nexus and how it works for them, they said, if I can call an expert and get an answer now, why would I continue just to guess?
Right.
And I thought that really does capture what we do.
That's perfect. Yeah, I like that. And it is delivering value now, folks. So I encourage you to check it out. We have, of course, our forum members. Forum, go to masterb2b.com and look at forum, and you can sign up there for free. That is an online community where you can network and share with your peers. And again, no cost. You just need to go to our website and apply. And then finally, I wanted to just remind everyone that our Friday 15 is available via podcast on your favorite podcasting service. And please give us a rating or review if you go there, because, well, it helps. And we appreciate your feedback and involvement. Andy, any final words on our Friday? Oh, my gosh, almost 30?
Nope.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone, for listening in. We will see you next week on the next Friday 15.